What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Building Code. Zach Witovich.
And I'm Charley Burtwhistle.
And today we're sitting at a different angle if you're watching on YouTube.
Yeah, this is very exciting. I've heard murmurs that we're getting a new studio. So maybe this is maybe testing out some different layouts and things. But yeah, it's a little closer to you than I'd like to be, but I'm excited.
Can you feel the tension?
No, it's always great to be in the studio with my good friend Zach Witovich, and we have a couple of very exciting guests in studio in Omaha with us today. Zach, who we bringing on?
That's right. We've got Ashley Kuhn and Maranda Adams. They are co-founders at Blair Freeman Construction Company Group.
Just Blair Freeman.
Blair Freeman.
Yeah.
Blair Freeman.
I read the URL. Blair Freeman. Welcome to the Building Code.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
How are we doing today?
So good.
So good?
Yes.
I always like to ask people when we're in the studio, have you ever been on a podcast before?
We have.
Oh, man.
Yes.
All right. So
Yes.
We have.
you can't tell if we ever have, that's for sure. Welcome.
Wild
Thank
West.
you.
Well, we always like to start with our guests. Obviously, just tell us a little about your background. We love hearing our customers' journey, their story, so I'd love to hear yours.
Yeah. So I am a native Houstonian and grew up with my mom who's in real estate. And so she was kind of the catalyst for me falling in love with development and real estate and home ownership and just seeing that process. And use what I learned at the University of Nebraska Lincoln. And
Go Skurs. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, we got to plug it.
There we go.
Spring game this
Always.
weekend.
Oh, that is this
They're
weekend.
going to edit that out for sure.
Well, sometimes we really like to test the continuity if they can keep it going or not. We're not great at it. Now I have to ask, what brought you to Nebraska from Houston?
Something totally different.
Okay.
Yeah, just wanted to do something totally different.
Really?
Be in the Midwest, came out here, met my husband.
Okay.
5 kids later in a whole business, met Ashley. So, I mean, what more could you ask for?
I mean,
Nebraska has everything.
That's right. Not a lot of verticality, but we
Right.
definitely have the nicest people. If you're ever
sure.
from
There you go.
Omaha, how about your story?
Very similar, but grew up in Omaha.
Okay.
Omaha, born and raised. Grew up in a neighborhood that kind of sparked my curiosity for the plane of real estate as a whole. And so went to school for real estate, land use economics, investment finance. Met Maranda at UNL, go Skurs. And then came back to Omaha and worked in the development world. And in that space, acquired a construction company with that company. And so it kind of led me into managing construction as a whole. And then Maranda and I were like, we could totally take over the world. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Let's do
Absolutely.
it.
Well, but definitely very impressive backgrounds for both of you. I'd love to hear a little bit more about Blair Freeman. And I know your story I was reading on your website, which looks beautiful, by the way, that it got started with a snow cone shop. So I would love to hear that background and how you guys got to where you're at today.
It is the first time we've heard that origin story, in case you were wondering.
Well, the snow cone shop is just synonymous with a challenge, right? We ran into a project that it was some roadblocks. And we used that project. We got together. We overcame those roadblocks. And we found out that we could do this and we could do it well. And one of the biggest things was how many people run into these challenges and don't keep going. And so we wanted to be that resource for people who ran into some of those challenges, and we can help them get to the finish line.
Yeah. And just understanding that there's a historic way that construction has been done. And I feel like there hasn't been any massive changes or innovation in that space. I think Maranda and I started to see maybe we can come in as the innovators.
The opportunity.
And change
Yeah.
the way that things are done.
So was it something that the actual formation of Blair Freeman, was that an instant we got to do this, or was it just get across this first project and then that kind of snowballs into, well, maybe there is a business idea here?
I think it was a little bit of both. I think as we were going through the process, we kept looking at each other and these light bulbs kept going off. And then once we got through the project, it was more of a debrief and just sitting down and saying, are you thinking what I'm thinking? And it was just that like-mindedness and what we wanted to see in our community, in the city, and nationally, and just changing the landscape of construction in general.
Yeah. I think if somebody had asked, did you take the time to think through it really expressly? No, we did not. We were immediately this can be something awesome. Let's just do it. And we jumped pretty quickly. I think if we would have overthought it, we would never be here in a million years.
That's an amazing story. It's really, really fun to talk to people locally that, get into construction. I was just talking to a different client in Texas about funny enough, have more relationships with contractors outside of Nebraska than I do inside Nebraska.
Really?
Well, it's just, a lot of our customers are all over.
Yeah.
So it's just naturally you'd think we have a lot more locally, but really excited to have you guys on today. And on your website, you talk about your core values. And I think that's a really important part of a business. Buildertrend has ours, focus on the customer, some other ones. Can I say, don't be an asshole?
Oh my God.
That's what it's on the wall.
That's what ours
Is it?
It is.
Look at that.
Pretty
See?
much.
That's
We
why
worded it differently, but that's pretty much it.
That's pretty much it.
tech company, baby. Do whatever we want.
Same.
Yeah. You have karma
Yeah.
on your core values on your website. I want to know more about that. Like,
It's the same as yours. Don't be an asshole.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What goes around comes around.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. How's your employees respond to that? I mean, what does that do for your business?
It's a great way for you to always be able to explain to them. So if somebody came back and did that to you, would you be okay? It's
Yeah.
a really easy way of just setting the tone of how you treat people on a day-to-day basis. And I think we constantly are having a discussion of be mindful of how you show up on a day-to-day basis. We all come in with that baggage and people are going to treat us in a way that we wouldn't treat them.
Yeah.
But it really is about like show up every day as that best human, regardless of what that table is that you're set at.
Yeah.
I love that. Charlie, you need to start being nicer to me.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's nice.
Well, and I think it's because despite what you're going through, you never know what somebody else is going through. And that's one thing that I know there was a video that we used to show when in the very beginning. We probably need to show that again.
Yeah.
Just how you never know what somebody's going through. So always just, like Ashley said, show up as your best self. Be kind. Just be kind.
Yes.
And it goes a long way. And it always comes back.
Yeah. Hopefully those words resonated with Zach, especially.
Are you not kind, Zach?
No.
Oh,
Zach
I
and I
think our
are,
listeners know Charlie started it 80 episodes ago.
we'll have to edit this part out, but I actually do like Zach a lot. But we have this like running bit where we're mean to each other. So it's like a persona that we toss on when we're in the studio.
funny.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
But no, I love the core values, and I love that karma is at the heart of them and treating people nicely. I feel like just hearing you guys talk, I can tell that the status quo isn't really what you guys are going to settle for. You've already used the word innovating and breaking barriers and things like that multiple times in this interview, which I think is awesome. And we have this stat written down here: you're the only 100% Black-owned and woman-led Class A contractor in the whole state of Nebraska,
Yeah.
which is awesome.
Yeah.
In an industry that's primarily guys that look like Zach and I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very, old white beard guys. So I think
Y'all aren't old.
He just called me old. See?
did.
See what I
Zach
mean?
old. I was trying to sneak that in. Zach actually called the person we had on the pod last week old.
No, I didn't. That's
So
not true. We edited it.
So you did.
Oh.
Documentation.
Oh, no, I regret starting it today.
So I think not only are you breaking down construction barriers, but also who can lead construction, who can excel at construction. Can you talk? I'm sure we could spend an entire hour on this topic, but talk a little bit about some of the things you've had to overcome and what it means to kind of be that representation that people aren't used to seeing, and showing that you can be done and kind of be someone to look up to as far as contractors in Nebraska go.
Yeah. I mean, one of the challenges that we had sometimes in the beginning was walking onto job sites and people thinking we were the assistant or we didn't own the company or that we didn't know what we were talking about when it came to construction.
Right.
And so just having the opportunity to really go in and let people know, like, we do know what we're talking about. We know what we're doing. Our staff is capable. We're capable. And so that was one of the things that have been a challenge, but we've been received really well in Omaha nationally by everybody. And it's not just the community. It's also people who you would deem as competition. So other construction companies, all of them, they've all been very, very supportive and receptive to Blair Freeman, who we are and what we're doing.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I think, even from a staffing perspective, we have a lot of women in
Yeah.
our company, which is very unusual. And so imposter syndrome becomes one of those things that we constantly see. We have people that have worked on massive job sites and they come to our company without having that like barrier of a man standing in front of them to like confirm you're good. So we're constantly like, you got this.
You got
You
it.
know what you're
Do
talking
it.
about. Just go do it. So and that happens to Maranda and I too, where you just get that imposter syndrome because people don't expect you to know. They question you. So then you automatically start
Right.
questioning yourself.
Like, did I really?
Right. Do I
is
know
that,
that? Is that
Ashley,
true?
am I crazy?
Do I have the code book memorized?
No.
I think I have the code book memorized, but I don't know.
And just being there for each other,
Yeah.
Yes.
lifting each other up.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think, so remind me again, I was looking on your website, you do commercial and residential
We do.
construction?
Yeah, we do.
Which is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Was that a clear choice, or was it, projects were coming available and like
Yeah.
not turn anything down, or what's the kind
by
of distinction
nature,
there?
when you're young as a company, you have to diversify because God forbid one of the markets kind of drop out. You have to have
Right.
more,
Yeah.
A little
more
more
to
protected
rely
there.
upon. And then I think it's just become, we prefer to have that diversity of project.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of like complexity in the commercial side that is super interesting. That on the residential side, it just brings different. Like even in our Buildertrend account, like we look at a commercial account, even though they're using the same software, it's like an entirely different language, and there's all
For
these
sure.
other standards, and like
It is.
it's interesting. So, your first project, like what type of work was it? Was it commercial or was it residential?
Both.
It was
We
both?
had
Both.
two projects. One was a completely gutted home renovation in the higher end neighborhood. And then at the same time, well, it was three. We had a bar renovation and like a
dining
food hall.
hall.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, going all at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have we? I wonder if I want to ask if I've been to these places. The food hall.
you
haven't,
better
you
have.
should.
What is it? Are you allowed to say?
Yes.
Yeah.
What is it?
So the Highlander Food Hall
Okay.
is down on 30th and Lake-ish.
Yeah.
And then we did the Alice Bar, which is out on.
Oh, wow, okay.
Hopefully
You've been there?
That's out.
178th and
Yeah.
Center-ish.
I haven't been there. I'm lame. Just ask Charlie. He knows.
you're
Now
assigned.
we're gonna have to
You're
go.
assigned.
I
You
know.
have to
It's like literally like right around my hood. I should
Yeah,
know.
you
There
should
you go.
Yeah, I've
You
heard
should
good
go.
things.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, I'm interested. So when you've been bringing people onto the team, what do you guys look for? Like I've always noticed in construction, a lot of different backgrounds. Are you pulling in like industry vets, or are you taking people under your wing and showing them the ropes in the construction industry?
It's a split of who comes. But for us, we find the people 1st and then figure out the position that they're gonna
Yeah. Love
that.
fit into
Yeah.
because it's so. Anytime we post job positions, it's so hard to read whether or not that culture is going to be a fit because that's our driving standard is the culture. That's
Yes.
if you're an asshole.
Yep.
I'm sure
like,
I can't
no.
say that
We're
online.
gonna
but-
get sound effects.
We are.
But I mean, if you're not a nice person, if you're not a fun person, because we do not take anything too serious. I mean, you can build a really.
I don't know. You
awesome
guys seem
product.
super serious.
Yeah, like very
serious.
serious.
Yeah.
But you can build an awesome product and be incredible at what you do and still have fun. And I think that's one of the things that like historically has not been it. So
Yeah.
our culture is the driving force of how we find people. I feel like construction's not rocket science. So you can train a lot of people to do a lot of things. It's really that culture effort that
Yeah, we always say effort and attitude.
Yes.
Hey.
Those are the
Oh my
two
gosh.
things that you can't teach those two things.
We have, we react to that way. We have, are those still our core values?
I think it's still the.
It's a saying. We have T-shirts
Undertone.
that say effort, attitude, and then give a shit because obviously we have to
Yeah.
You have to
swear in there somewhere to
Oh,
be cool.
that's us. That's
But
us.
yeah,
Pretty
so
much in our
effort and
bylaws.
attitude.
Every
That's it.
meeting, you
And
have to
can't,
sway.
Yeah, you
Swear.
can't teach that. So if you have that, you come in and you want to be great and you have the best attitude, we can teach everything else.
Yeah.
We've had that philosophy a lot here at Buildertrend too. Like my background is in construction, but I've spent time learning construction and the software, and it's just given me so many great opportunities. It's actually, I kind of joke with people outside of Buildertrend, like I came to Buildertrend for the opportunity. I stayed because of our customers and the industry, and like it's just you could work at any tech company.
Yeah.
That is just like I always joke like Microsoft really moves the needle, but like something about the construction industry, it's special. I get it.
Yeah.
So I just always like to ask contractors, like, what do you look for in someone? Because I think a lot of contractors have that same experience where it's like the quilt of construction. It doesn't matter what you did before.
Yeah.
If you have the right attitude and like an open mind, and you're going to meet great people and do something really great for your community, which
Yeah.
I'm sure is really important to you,
Yeah.
both of you.
Yeah.
This is the second time I've referenced our last interview, but remember they were saying they found a really cool pipeline of wedding planners.
Yeah.
When COVID hit, no one could have like big weddings anymore, but they were still building. So a bunch of wedding planners were looking for jobs, and they figured out that they were actually really, really good
Project
project
managers.
managers.
Managers,
Yeah.
selection
Absolutely.
coordinators.
Yeah.
100%.
You're
That's a
planning
good
on the
idea.
fly.
Yeah.
You're really good
Noted.
project managers, right?
Wedding planners.
Yeah.
Well, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about, when you were going in construction, you had this moment around, should we do this? Have you thought about it too much? Like, what do you tell Black women who are like, I want to get in construction, and maybe they're on the fence? Like, how do you get more people to jump in and really kind of get started?
Yeah.
We are really, really big on mentoring. So we invite people to the office. We go out to coffee. We go to lunch. We say ask questions. And I think that when people are able to come in and see what Ashley and I do on a day-to-day, what our staff does on a day-to-day, see the projects, you're able to really just soak all of that in. And so our biggest thing is just ask questions, talk to people who are in the industry, and just absorb as much information as possible, and then know that we're going to be here every step of the way, whatever you need.
I also think it's the unpacking of, a lot of people think like if you get into construction, you're going to have these people that don't want you in construction at all, that won't support you. It's getting out of that narrative, because I don't think I've ever stepped on a job site where somebody truly was like, women don't belong in the industry. What are you doing here? I've never in my life. There are like the grumpy folks that are just grumpy by nature. It's not you, it's just life, right? And so it's getting people to understand that there is not this thought process that we don't belong here. We just haven't been here historically. So it's getting people to understand that you are welcome in this industry, and it's a really great industry to be in. So it's changing that narrative and getting people to realize you're good. Come on.
You're good.
You're good.
Do you guys have other, like, I don't know, like groups, or I don't know if you're a part of, I know there's like various like NAHB like groups in Omaha where you are talking with other contractors and things like that inside of Omaha as well, to maybe help change that narrative and let them know what you guys are trying to do and what you're building for?
I mean, we partner with so many other GCs in town, especially on the commercial side of the world.
Right.
So I feel like our momentum is starting to just kind of move into that area where people are excited that, oh my gosh, there's a whole new pool of folks that we're open to. I mean, we are involved in a lot of groups.
We are.
I don't think they're contractor focused though.
No.
I don't think, other than NAWIC, maybe NAWIC is probably the only one that's closest to.
Yeah, commercial real estate and things like that.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, you know, I think another thing we'd like to talk about is you made the leap and now you're running this successful company and it's all worked out. But like, what were some of the challenges that you faced that maybe you weren't even expecting that, you know, when you went into the endeavor together?
Oh, wow. I had a baby.
Oh,
Against our operating agreement.
man.
Yeah. Had that
was
baked
an
into the
unexpected
contract.
challenge.
Raising a family. I mean, that's,
Yeah. I think our biggest thing that we ran into is just everybody was so supportive that the amount of jobs that we could have taken in the beginning, if we had taken them, probably would have sunk the company right out of the gates if we had been like, yes, give us everything.
Right. Yeah.
So I think our biggest struggle has always been
Controlled growth.
Controlled growth and not saying no to folks that are going to close the door. You know, you kind of have to know when, like, if you say no to that, they're not coming back. So
Right.
it's been that ability to grow in a very meaningful way. That's probably our biggest challenge.
Yeah.
I think even with our customers, we get contractors who come in of all shapes and sizes. They're really mature. They've been around for 30 years. And then we have new businesses, and that's the thing when we're onboarding them we run into is they want to take on the world.
Yeah.
Like, we want to onboard the software. We're going to be using all these estimates. We're going to do everything. We have all this work, and it's like, whoa, man.
Yeah.
You gotta
Yeah.
slow down. I could totally see how when you like get
Yeah.
your first, you want to sprint.
Yes.
Then you start like taking on too much water, and that's when you really get in trouble.
Yeah.
That makes a ton of sense.
You want to, everything you do, you want to do it well and to perfection. And so if we are walking in and we know we're going to fail at this, it's just immediate. Nope. Sounds
in our
good,
gut.
super fun, but no thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
Trust your gut.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like that's every time we have people in here talking, I'm constantly reminded of just like how similar Buildertrend is to our customers' businesses. Like, gosh, talking about like knowing when to say no and like what projects are too big and things like that. I feel like Zach and I are both very like interested people, and we like have this crazy idea. We're like, okay, let's go do it. The next thing you know, we have like 50 things, and none of them getting done. Right? If you're doing 50 things at once, so you're really doing one thing.
Right.
So yeah, it's just definitely a ton of similarities there. I would say maybe feeding off that question is like initial challenges is like, how do you or like what advice do you guys have for people that think they may want to start? Like, how do you even get involved here?
At the construction level?
Yeah.
It depends on where you are in your
Yeah.
life. I think if you're just starting off and trying to figure out your career, go do the brunt work at some construction company, right? Like be an admin, be somebody that's just a field hand, something. Do anything that can just get you on the back end without having any responsibility and grow your way into it. School is always a way to get into it, although historically you're going to get the, what'd you go to school for construction for?
Right.
Yeah. I would say just ask questions and soak up as much knowledge as possible. Ask the questions, talk to people if there's any classes that you can take. So you don't, you may not want to have to go to school full time. There may be some classes that you're like, I'm going to take this construction 101 class and just kind of get a broad view of it.
Yeah.
And then again, talk to people in the industry who you want to emulate or that you see that are successful. Ask for coffee, use your network, all of those things. So,
yeah, I feel like, especially talking to you two, but people inherently want to help, right? And I
They
think
do.
that that's something that people on the other side that need help are scared to ask for.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, they're busy. They're these very successful business women. They don't want to, sit down with me. It's like, no,
We will.
We will.
Yeah.
And we'll
we
feel
will.
good about it. It'll make us
Yeah.
feel good too. And I think that's just such an important message. Like the housing industry as a whole, but construction, like there's a lot more houses that need to be built. And every single contractor we've talked to says their biggest problem is like the labor shortage. Like we need more skilled people
Yeah.
to build all these houses. So that's the narrative we're trying to push is
Get in it.
construction is an awesome industry to be involved
It is.
in.
Yeah.
And it's not that hard to get started.
It's
you just have to
not.
kind of take that leap,
do
right?
it.
Yeah. And we went through that era. We talk about this all the time where like when we were younger, our parents pushed us to go to college. That was the thing. Like, you had to go to college. And because of that, we stopped getting people in the trades because it started to be
Yeah.
like that. You don't go to trade school, you go to college. So now we're seeing the flip of that where the kids are getting into the trades, but we're behind by 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
Of
So
Yeah.
it's a
needing
big
that.
push.
It's a big push. It's going to be a gap for a while until the kids that are just now trying to get into the trades are trained up.
Do you guys do anything locally with the trade community for like education or trying to push people into that?
Yeah, Maranda and I actually just got our 501c3 status
Oh,
on
you
a
did?
nonprofit organization
That's
because we
amazing.
are
Let's go.
trying to close that gap a little bit more quickly than what we've seen in the past. I mean, if you get folks on job sites and you get them somebody that truly can hand in hand with them, then we've started a nonprofit to try to get that training
Really?
faster.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's a gap, and
It
it's
is.
a
Yeah.
gap that people should be panicking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, we've had a few guests like come in and talk about technology, and like that can help shore up some of the gap, but like you're still going to need someone out on the job site.
You are, for
making
sure.
things are happening.
Yes.
Yes.
Unless they're machine printing,
Right.
complex
Right.
plumbing,
Right.
infrastructure. We're a ways off.
We're
Yes.
ways off.
Yeah.
We're quite
We're gonna
some
need-
ways off from that.
Yeah. Really, really incredible. I feel like, there's a lot of things that we could go down. I do have one last question about like been in Omaha in my whole life. I've lived here, like, and I've always kind of been like, things are happening. Like, what do you guys like view in the Omaha market as far as the construction, like growth plan? Like, what are we going to get? When are we going to like get some green space or something?
You're
Or
getting
like
so much. It's
what
booming.
can we do?
I mean, Omaha's from a market
much.
standpoint,
Yeah.
Omaha is very booming. Again,
Yes.
in comparison to any of the coasts.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously from a
Right.
scale standpoint, if you're in New York, there's construction in relation to Omaha that's happening more. But I think just in a per capita setting, Omaha is unmatched.
Okay.
We have philanthropic, we have, medical. There's just so much happening in Omaha that the rest of the nation is kind of starting to see that slowdown in construction. And I don't see us slowing down for 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
We've got a lot going on.
We do. I actually got a
exciting.
text from a friend yesterday that was like, I heard Omaha is growing like crazy yesterday.
Yeah.
And I was like, it is.
Yeah.
So, and whenever people come to visit from back home in Houston, which is a huge city, they come here and they're like, huh,
Yeah.
this
yeah.
is a
I have
lot
a
happening.
theory.
Yeah.
I'm
What's
going
the
to test
theory?
it here. So I traveled for Buildertrend for 2 years. I went to 90 cities, I want to say.
Oh, wow.
So when you go to a place, you always have expectations, and you either meet or below or exceed. And Omaha is one that will consistently
Exceed.
Exceed. It does.
But
Yeah.
you got to set the tone that
Yeah.
people's baseline of what they expect is
Right.
really
Right.
low.
The manage those expectations.
Exactly.
Like we can knock that
Well,
out.
always.
Of the park.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Always.
Like you're looking for a great weekend, come on down to Omaha.
Just don't bring them in the winter.
Bottom
Not the
barrel
winter.
expectation. Great point.
Yeah.
Between
you thought you were gonna be car tipping, and you're like, "There's a bar."
Gosh, that's maybe my last question I have, and then we'll let you guys go. Is most of this interview we've talked about where you came from, what you're doing, how you got started, things like that. I'd love to ask, just like for the rest of 2023, what are you guys most excited about?
For the rest of 2023?
Yeah,
Oh my
or
gosh.
2024, 2025.
Let's see.
You just went from like 8 months to
No, just what
36
future
months.
plans that you guys have. Like you just mentioned the nonprofit that you guys started
Yeah.
up. You mentioned that you're, hiring more people and growing the business. What are just
Yeah.
the biggest things that you're excited or looking forward to?
Do you need a data scientist or
Right?
a customer
Yeah.
success?
Always.
You know, I feel like-
I think it's that we have been working on some colossal projects that really put your name on the map, and those all kind of start buttoning up. This year
Yeah.
where you really are going to have some things to show for. Construction and real estate process is really long.
Yeah.
And so there's some really cool projects that we're wrapping up this year that we're just really proud to say, like, look at us. We came out of the ground and
We
this
did.
is
We
this is
built
what we
this
did.
thing.
Yes.
us.
Yeah. And so the bigger projects are getting wrapped up this year
Yeah.
that we first started. So
And then the nonprofit. That's one thing that we're really excited about launching that. It's a long time coming. It's an idea that we had when we first started. We knew that we wanted to do something that was going to impact the community. And so I think getting that going is something that we're really looking forward to in 2023 too.
yeah.
Well, that's also just a great teaser, like cliffhanger. There is, we'll have you guys back on once that's up and going, and we'll check back in.
There we go.
A couple
Yeah.
months from now or something. So.
And it can
like
feed
it.
into everybody and anybody. It's not for Blair Freeman. It's for
Everybody.
all contractors. So hopefully
your
that
clients.
pipeline is going towards
There we go.
everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to have some new workforce.
That's amazing. Well, both of you, thank you so much for coming on Building Code. It was a great conversation. Charlie
Yeah.
extended the invite for you to come back. We'd love to have you again.
Yeah. Yes.
Talk
This is
about
great.
how you've taken over the world. I mean,
Yeah, it's happening.
Thanks for having
Thank
us.
you so much.
of course.
I think that about does it. Until next time, I'm Charlie Birtwhistle.
I'm Zach Witovich. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching the video. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for exclusive content brought to you by Buildertrend.